Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for finding the time to join us for this afternoon's webinar. My name is Dana Vignali of the Charter Support Unit, and I'm super excited about our webinar today, Maximize Your Time, How AI Can Streamline Instructional Coaching. So perhaps you can relate. Probably one of my favorite roles in school leadership is the serving as an instructional leader and supporting and coaching teachers to be the best that they can be. I recall how much I grew from valuable feedback, and I looked forward to the opportunity to pay it forward to the teachers. However, as I assumed the leadership role, I was increasingly frustrated with the lack of time I had to actually go into classrooms. Despite every great intent, blocking time on my calendar, there was so much administrative things to handle or fire to put out that I really didn't have the time that I had hoped to be in the classroom, observing teachers and giving them valuable feedback. And I genuinely lost sleep about this because I wanted to be the instructional leader that I benefited from as a teacher. So when I heard about Adam Geller and AI coaching from a podcast, I made it a point to seek him out. I do believe his approach in AI coaching can be a great tool to help develop teachers as reflective practitioners and provide them with the feedback and coaching they need to be the best teachers that they can be. Adam Geller is the founder of Athena. He started his career in education as a middle school science teacher in St. Louis, Missouri. And since 2011, he has overseen the evolution of Athena from paper-based prototypes into research-informed and patented platforms used by schools, districts, and teacher training programs, as well as professional development providers. Adam has written on education technology topics for various publications, including Education Week, Forbes, and EdSearch. And he has been an invited speaker about educational technology and teacher training for conferences here as well as abroad. So I'm thrilled to bring to you this absolute expert in AI coaching. Welcome, Adam. At this point, I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you so much. And let me just share my screen here before I jump in and get the thumbs up, Dana, that you can see my screen. Perfect. Yep. All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. And hello, everyone. I am really quite thrilled to be here to talk about something I get really, really excited about. And also, I think, those kind of topics that Dana was saying there about the kind of desire for school leaders to be in classrooms more often for the purpose of illuminating what's happening in that classroom to the teachers, right? Because I feel like that's the kind of basis of a strong and healthy instructional community. And, I think that's fundamentally what we're here to talk about today. So as Dana said, we're here to talk about maximizing your time. My name is Adam. And I'm really passionate about helping teachers reach their full potential. In addition to all those great things that Dana said, I'm also the author of a book. So if you were needing a reason to think, yeah, he knows what he's talking about, I've written a book about using video as a tool for teacher reflection called Evidence of Practice. So for the slides part of today's webinar, I'm going to try and keep it kind of brief with an opportunity for some discussion between myself and Dana at the end. So we're going to talk about saying yes to everyday AI, and I'll talk about what I mean when I say everyday AI. Then we're going to talk about what is the AI coach for instructional coaching. This is some new kind of crazy stuff, some people tell me. So I'll have some reactions from other educators. And then, as I mentioned, we'll take time at the end for questions, as well as one of those thanks for coming type things at the very end. All right, so let's start with what is everyday AI. And this is a term I like to use because it helps me frame up maybe the difference between AI that's impacting my day-to-day and maybe the AI that I'm reading about in the news, which can feel like a lot is changing really, really fast, which it is. And it's really amazing stuff. But, we're going to kind of bring it down a little bit for us today into our everyday lives. So first, what is it not? Well, if you recognize this picture, this is an image from the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is how the AI on the space station that takes control and is in charge of everything, and then everything goes really, really bad, of course. Uh, that's not everyday AI. That's not everyday AI because it's just not where we are. Despite what the headlines might make you think, we are not in a place yet where computers are making these decisions in completely autonomous ways, where we don't have control over them. In fact, am here to say you're already using a lot of AI, and that's why I like that phrase, everyday AI. So, what is it? It's things like picking up your phone and using your face to unlock it. It is opening up Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. And if you've seen that little Explore tab at the bottom and you click it, and then it's like, hey, do you want to create a pivot table for this data? And if you know the pain of creating pivot tables, and you're like, wow, that's a big time savings. That's AI. Also, grammar correction tools. So here I've got a little image from Quillbot, but there's another popular one is Grammarly. The difference between affects and effects in usage and the correction in line while we're writing. That's another great example of AI that's part of our everyday. So I summarize this as AI that is easy to access, assistive, personalized to what we need, and integrated for a job that we're trying to get done. So you're probably thinking, what about ChatGPT? Also, if I didn't talk about ChatGPT, you'd probably exit this webinar right now and think he doesn't know what's happening right now. So of course, we got to talk about ChatGPT. Amazing technology. Absolutely amazing technology. By the way, ChatGPT is essentially a computer program. It's just like saying you're going to open up Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. It's a program, a web application that's sitting on top of some very sophisticated technologies called large language models. And the particular ones that it's using are called GPT 3.5 and GPT 4. So I'm just making that distinction because ChatGPT is a program. Lots of other developers are accessing the underlying technology. But what's a framework to think about ChatGPT, right? So if I was just talking about everyday AI, so how does ChatGPT fit into that? Well, I would argue it's not yet everyday AI for us. So we need a framework for thinking about it. My current one is like this giant tool chest. Imagine somebody just rolled into the room, a giant tool chest full of tools, and it doesn't have 30 drawers. It has 3,000 drawers or 3 million drawers. You're not even sure how many drawers it has, and you don't even know what tools are in all the drawers. And even if you did know some of the tools, you're not sure how to find them. It's a very powerful set of tools. But what you really needed to get done was you needed to cut some wood and trim. And so you had to go find this very particular tool, which I learned is called a multi-angle trunking shears. I don't own any of these, but it was familiar enough because I understood it was meant to cut things. But here we have a very specific tool for a job to be done. We need to go cut the wood, right? So ChatGPT, very powerful, but a big set of tools. Let's now compare this to something else we might know. What if I asked you to think about calculating student grades? Let's think about the tools you would use for that. So most of us here have probably used a graphing calculator, a really powerful tool. And I'll be honest, I don't remember how to use all the really powerful functions of this really powerful tool. I would probably reach for the 4-function calculator on my cell phone, right? But what's funny is that if you think about the job to be done, the calculating of the student grades, the reality is neither of these tools may actually be the best tool for the job to be done. And so that's a little bit what I'm trying to compare to with ChatGPT. It's the big tool chest, but what you really needed wasn't either of these calculators. What you needed was a student gradebook program on your computer that did all the special calculations and formulas and weightings and whatnots. So everyday AI, I feel, is designed for a job to be done. So that's important because we're here today to talk about maximizing your time, yes, but how AI can streamline instructional coaching. So that's the job to be done that we're talking about today. So what's the AI tool for instructional coaching? Well, as Dana previewed, I am here to tell you, I think that's the AI Coach by Edthena. So this is a first of its kind platform that connects teachers to a virtual coach for the kind of reflection and goal setting and action planning process. This is meant as a supportive tool. It's not meant to replace you going to classrooms. It's not like you get to check out if you adopt a AI Coach. This is about all those moments in between when you're not able to get there, or maybe you don't have an instructional coach in your building. This is a tool set that empowers teachers to do that reflection, ensure that the learning continues, and prepare them for better collaboration with you and their colleagues as an outcome of this process. So let's talk first about what AI Coach is not before I get to showing you what it is. So going back to Hal here, AI Coach is not an all-knowing AI that's going to tell teachers what to do with a specific solution or an authoritative stance on what is the right answer. Not only do teachers not really want that, right? But again, it's a little bit in the science fiction category. We could go into why that's edging into science fiction, but if you think about all the nuance happening in classrooms, it's just not really possible for a computer to analyze all of those things right now. So what is it then, if it's not an all-knowing AI that's going to watch the teachers for you? Well, it's actually a virtual coaching system that teaches the teachers how to coach themselves. Right. So it is a conversational platform. You can see here on the right-hand side, and we'll look a little bit more when I screen share here another tab. There's a chat conversation ongoing between that kind of blue square character, that's the virtual coach Edie, and the teacher. It's a guided process. So it's not an open-ended tool chest of ask any question under the sun. It's actually a guided coaching protocol that's meant to help teachers achieve certain outcomes as part of the coaching process. It's personalized to what the teachers want, right? So this is what's important to them, what they want to learn about, and when appropriate, it's able to offer curated resources to help teachers continue their learning, uncover new ideas, and come to a kind of place where they're ready to implement things in their classroom. Okay, so let's take a look at the AI Coach in action. So I'm just going to flip my tab here, and I have a few different moments of the coaching process pulled up that we're going to be able to look at together here. So what we're looking at here is the AI Coach platform. This is the logged in version for a teacher. On the left-hand side, we have a video that's been uploaded by the teacher. And on the right-hand side, we have the conversation that's underway between the teacher and the coach. Now, before this moment that we're joining here in the coaching cycle, the teacher has already identified what's important to her and what she wants to be learning about. And we're about to go into the part of the process where the teacher is going to be observing herself. Now, observing yourself is, as an instructional leader, I'm sure you know, it can be, it takes training to know how to observe classroom practice and make that observation high impact for the teacher in terms of helping identify what's happening. And so this is a coaching process that put teachers in the driver's seat to observe themselves, but ensures that they are well prepared to do that, especially if they're doing that on their own. So the coach here is saying, okay, remember, you don't need to tag everything. Yes, I'm ready. And the virtual coach switches into a mode where she's actually offering these customized observation tips to help the teacher develop a certain frame while she's watching her video. So let me go ahead and play the video. And I'll skip ahead here to show you what it looks like for a teacher to leave a comment on her video. So, okay, maybe this is the moment that's very interesting to me. I click that plus sign, everything pauses. I have the options here of strength and note. Okay, this is about checks for understanding. Again, these are the observation areas she chose previously. That's why we're seeing these. Maybe I need to leave more wait time after my questions. All right, so when I click done, that marker pops right into the timeline and the video continues. You can leave as many comments as you want. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead here. So I want to show you something, what I think is pretty cool about the platform. So I mentioned that it's customized to what the teacher wants to be learning. But as we know, as you kind of go into that observation, you might have a certain frame at the beginning, and then you start to collect more information about what's happening, and you realize, oh, I need to kind of shift directions, right? So the platform is very flexible. You know, okay, I actually am noticing that students are very responsive to my instructions, right? This is related to my routines and procedures. You know, and you notice there is the microphone there, but I'm using my microphone to talk to you, so I can't use the microphone to type today. To my instructions. All right. Now, you saw before what it looks like to leave a comment. The reason I'm showing you this is, we added and we changed what we wanted to be learning about, now about classrooms, routines, and procedures. So take a look over here on the right-hand side when I click done. What's really awesome is that Edie, the virtual coach, is paying attention the whole time, right? And so the teacher has changed what her learning goals are. And now the virtual coach is able to adjust and provide that additional context and support to help the teacher be successful at observing herself. So this process would continue. The teacher would watch the whole video and leave a variety of comments. And then as she moves through the process, Edie, the virtual coach, would ask the teacher to summarize what she's finding in her classroom and actually turn that into a goal statement for change within her classroom. So I'm going to flip tabs here to take us to a different later part of that coaching conversation. And this is, you can see there's been a lot of comments left on the video. We've already summarized, we've already kind of turned everything into a goal. But I'm showing you this because I mentioned the idea of the curated resources. And so I wanted to give you a preview of what that looks like. So here we are, we're kind of rejoining this conversation. You see here, the virtual coach is asking, do you already have an idea of what you'll implement or do differently to achieve your goal? And I really like this moment because it doesn't assume that the teacher needs to be told what to do, right? Well, many teachers may have ideas, and by collecting this data, may be like, oh yeah, right. That practice I was working on last year or last month, I need to double down on that. Let me try that again, and collect some new data on it. But for many teachers, they may also need some new ideas. So here we have I could use some help thinking this through. So now we have that curated resources. They're related to checks for understanding what the goal is about. We're telling the teacher the context of all of these being vetted by experienced instructional coaches. So these are not, the 5 top items off of Pinterest or something like that. All right. And so here is an example of the kind of curated content that the teachers are getting access to. And what I like about all of these, none of them says the one thing you need to do, right? All of them in this case are about checks for understanding, but they're taking teachers to learn more about a variety of different techniques. So in this way, again, the virtual coach is not ever in that kind of purely directive stance for teachers. Virtual coach is always trying to facilitate the teacher to kind of uncover things about their practice. And in this case, uncover the types of changes that they're willing and wanting to make within their classroom. All right, so at this point, the teacher's developed a goal, has put together an action plan. They're going to work with the virtual coach to kind of firm up a timeline, and they're going to talk about what data she's going to collect in her classroom to understand the impact. And then she's going to go do it, right? She's got to actually do something differently with students to see if it has an impact. And then just like with an in-person coaching process, the teacher is going to come back and report back to the virtual coach what happened, so what. So I've flipped the tab here. We're in the last part of the coaching cycle. And we've actually already reported back what happened. And so this is the very, very end. And the teacher is actually able to come in and review all of the different reflections that she's been capturing throughout the coaching process. Now, because it's really important to us that teachers always feel empowered as part of this process, they absolutely can go in, they can tweak some words, they can change some words, all that's editable. But when they say they're done, and this is, I think, really valuable in the context of this conversation today, thinking about saving you time. So the teachers finalized. They actually have, and I'll just go ahead and click my print screen button. They get a nice PDF that shows all of those reflections that they've done. And now this PDF is a really valuable artifact for the next time they meet with you, because they can make better use of that time. It's also really a great artifact that grounds them in the data of their classroom when they go to their next PLC meeting to talk about what they've been learning and the so what of what they've been learning. All right, well, we already saw it in action. And I was just hinting at the what about maximizing time, because I put this slide in here to make sure I didn't skip over. I feel like the benefits, I'm used to talking about the benefits for teachers as part of this process and empowering teachers. And absolutely the flexibility of this type of professional learning for teachers is really huge, right? They can do it in a few short sittings. They can do it at a time of their choosing. If there's a surprise fire drill at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, it doesn't interrupt their ability to do the coaching with the coach. But for you as a school leader or an instructional leader who's thinking about how you want to be in classrooms more, this is a supplement to you getting there. As I mentioned, that artifact that teachers are using as part of this process helps them be better prepared to meet with you and talk with you and leverage you as a resource in their professional learning journey. In addition, there are tools for you to manage the process for the teachers. So, you have a dashboard to see the status of all your teachers in your building and understand what types of goals they're setting and kind of match that up to your priorities to see if there's any need for additional school-wide professional learning. All right, so at the beginning, I mentioned that I would tell you what educators are saying. And I have a little smile on my face because they say really good things. After everybody's first reaction of, wait, what? There's a virtual coaching option. But then when they actually try it out, they say really awesome things. So here is a quote, and I really love this one. This is actually from a 30-year veteran. She says she found this more useful and more purposeful than the peer coaching process they had in their building. Okay. From another teacher who said the experience was easy, right? Because there's a lot of technology here, but overwhelmingly it was easy. And this one I really like as well from a coach. I can't wait to use this with my teachers, right? Wow. Talk about amplifying your impact as an instructional leader. Imagine going in for that visit, you have that coaching conversation, and then what, right? This is that scaffold in between those visits that you are able to make. There's also been some writing about the AI Coach. So the AI Coach platform has been covered by a variety of different organizations, including ISTE and eSchool News and THE Journal and more. And AI Coach has also been awarded 2 really awesome awards. One is the EdTech Breakthrough Award in 2022. And the second one is a 2023 Top EdTech Product of the Year from District Administration. In the past 6 months, people have really changed their awareness of AI tools. But at the end of the day, these are new tools, right? And I hope that what you've seen here has you excited to maximize your time as a leader in terms of giving your teachers better support and also give them the support and the opportunity for learning that helps them have a greater impact with their students. Okay, before we get Dana's video back and going here for some questions from her, I want to make sure to leave you with information on where to learn more. So if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, great, but I want to read more about the details, head to edthina.com/AI coach. If you're watching this and thinking, I've got to tell so-and-so about this today, send them this link. They can try out the AI Coach process right now this week. Get you some feedback and information on what one of your teachers is thinking. And last, if you have some questions, you want to reach out to somebody on our team, send us a note, hello@edthina.com. And as one PS on AI tools, I constructed this graphic here using an AI image generator, just as a fun aside, because I mean, I think that's in the category of fun toys, but pretty amazing that you can type things like image of the idea of emailing in a blue motif, and then you get cool things like that coming out. So thanks, Dana, for the opportunity to share more about AI Coach, and kind of curious if some questions have come in that you wanted to kind of share with me.
Sure. So I haven't gotten any questions from the panelists, but what I would like to know more about is, I think this is a great overview of what the tool looks like. But as far as implementation, what does it look like? Let's start with the basics. What kind of equipment do I need to have?
Well, I love answering this question because the answer is the equipment you already have. You don't need to buy anything new in order to make this work. So if you have, laptops, if you have Chromebooks, it works on Chromebooks, right? So any device that has a camera on it is great for recording. You just need to set it close to students if you want student conversation, pointed at teachers if you want direct instruction, and then the rest is all web-based. You don't need any sort of special computer or special technology to make it work.
Got it. Okay. But also, to forewarn you, I am incredibly not tech savvy, and I did not grow up as a digital native. So I struggle a lot with new technology. How, like, really, how easy is it? Have you gotten feedback from teachers of my same age demographic? Like, I'm oftentimes I don't start something new simply because I'm shy of that learning curve. How hard is this for somebody like me?
It's a good question. So that teacher I mentioned before with the quote, actually, I've talked to her on the phone because she put the next thing I'm going to say in a survey, and I was like, really, I need to talk to you because I'm not sure if I really believe this, because in the survey, but then she said to me on the phone, almost word for word, I want to be clear, I am not techie. I do not like new technology. And this was easy to use. Okay, so there's a little testimonial, but why I think it was easy to use for her is that, in fact, the AI Coach platform is not our first product that we've built, right? So Athena has been around for more than a decade. So we've learned a lot about how to, design technology that we hope is easy to use, but also build in incremental training for the users. So you never really hit those moments of like, wait, I don't know the 6 things I'm supposed to do here. So right when you log on, the first thing you do is you meet the virtual coach, and she's actually going to guide you through your setup. So she's going to say, hey, like, first thing you need to do is record a video. Do you already have one? Do you need some tips on how to record? So that the virtual coach is your guide on the side to using the platform, as well as the actual coaching process as well.
Okay, perfect. So for a first-time user, like the coaching cycle, like what would you recommend, as far as introducing it to the teachers? How long do you think those coaching cycles should be? Like, what would an ideal first step look like of that coaching cycle?
Like we're introducing it whole building, or we're introducing
Starting
it?
it, yeah, we're starting next year with the teachers. What would that look like? And,
Yeah.
and what would you recommend for the coaching cycle to look
Yeah.
like?
Okay, so let's say we have a school building priority, or maybe we have a couple, right? So I think the nice thing about AI Coach is that it can align to your building priorities, right? Whatever kind of pedagogical skills that you're focusing on, and to kind of increase instructional quality across classrooms. So remind folks, hey, these are our big picture priorities. You're not telling them what to do, but it helps them, be keyed in. And then the setup and rollout is you send your teachers one link. That's it. You don't have to do any inviting or anything like that. So then, you kind of talked about it at the staff meeting, and then you email the teachers the one link. They all click it. They click sign in, and they use their Google or Microsoft login, click the button kind of thing, and they're off to the races. So that's your kind of implementation overhead as a leader, because this is about maximizing time. I'm realizing, so I should say this is about saving you time for getting something new going. But then as they get into the process, I would say when you want them to complete it by, right? So, okay, you're introducing it on the first of the month. Maybe they need to complete their coaching cycle by the end of the month. Now, how long is it going to take them to do it? Well, it could only take them, first of all, the total time they meet with the coach, it's broken up, right? 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. They could do that across 1 week if they're really ambitious. They can do it across 2 weeks if they want to take their time. And by telling them, hey, finish this by the end of the month, you've again given teachers that flexibility and autonomy to choose when it's right for them. So what's nice about that is they might get to choose multiple videos, right? They might record a few different things, which PS is more reflection that you're getting for free
Right.
from your teachers.
That's really true. I like that idea. Because, for example, with essays grading, I would oftentimes assign 3 essays and tell the kids to pick one that they'd like me to grade and really focus on. So it does give that baked in self-reflection. I like that. Now, what about, from the back end, from an administrator? Am I able to kind of see what the teachers are doing? Can I monitor if they're, staying true to a timeline, or can I see some of those videos? Is there privacy? How does that work?
Yeah. So let me say first, we can't do. You cannot see the videos unless the teacher comes up side by side and shows you the video.
Mhm.
You cannot see the coaching conversation itself until the teacher shares a reflection log with you. So just like
Interesting.
an in-person coaching process with an instructional coach, that kind of um, I don't want to say confidentiality, but that kind of wall in between the private
Mhm.
conversation and the school admin is still there. Now,
Mhm.
what is visible is kind of an admin dashboard that lets you see all your teachers and how many cycles they've completed. If everybody's supposed to be completing their first cycle by the end of September or the end of October, you can see where everybody is. Adam's in analyze, but Dana has already completed. You can see that level of data. You can
Mhm.
also click into each teacher and see what types of goals they're picking. So, I picked my goal to be about use of academic language in the content area,
Mhm.
and you picked your goal to be about checking for understanding. So that level of detail is rolled up, but nothing beyond that. And the teachers they have awareness of this happening as well. So the virtual coach tells them about what data will
Mhm.
be shared and what won't be shared right up at the beginning.
Excellent, excellent. I think that'll help with teacher buy-in as well for those who are a bit hesitant to film themselves teaching. Um,
Mhm.
Now, I know there was a comment about peer evaluation, but is it possible for peers to evaluate each other by utilizing the platform? So let's say, you're a co-teacher and I wanted to, you know, try something new, and you and I share our videos and comment on each other. Is that possible as well?
So the kind of peer-to-peer commenting is
Mhm.
not currently available in the AI Coach platform. We do have a
Mhm.
video coaching and collaboration platform that is ready for that out of the box. But never say never on these types of ideas. But currently, the
Mhm.
process is really focused on that kind of independent learning and preparing
Yeah.
teachers to have kind of like that kind of robust artifact to show someone else. And then certainly, if you want to sit side by side and talk about a video
Mhm.
together, and there is even a moment with if the teacher kind of hits a hits a a speed bump and they need some
Uh-huh.
help getting over it, even the virtual coach will say, "Hey, like maybe you should go ask a colleague to look at this with you."
Ah, okay. Cool. Very
Mhm.
cool. All right. Well, I think this is super cool, very innovative, and I really appreciate that you shared this with us. Is there anything else any other takeaways you'd like us to have before we depart?
The only other thing I would add, which I think connects back to why I put the ChatGPT, you know, ideas into this presentation. There's um, a lot of talk about AI, right? And it's
Uh-huh.
hard to know what is what's good for students and schools and what's not. And I'm here to say that skepticism is healthy, right? It's
Mhm.
good to be asking who developed this? Can I trust that organization? In order to before deploy that. So I hope that you can trust an organization like Athena, but I guess I want to applaud the kind of moment of pause that leaders are taking related to adopting tools. Yes, we
Mhm.
need to bring these tools into schools, but we need to find the AI that's good for teaching and learning.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time today. I really appreciate it. And for those of you that attended, thank you also. I know it's a busy time for you in the school sites right now with testing. So I'm glad that you found the time to listen to this valuable tool. And I do hope that it helps you. We would like you to complete a survey. It'll take less than 2 seconds at the most, to give us some feedback for this presentation as well as future presentation ideas. And as always, you're also able to revisit this webinar on our charter.support website, where you'll find all of our resources and documents. Our next upcoming webinar is next Tuesday, which is Strategic Family Engagement Tools to Boost Student Recruitment and Retention. And coming soon, because June 1st starts hurricane season, hurricane preparedness for schools. Thank you all again for spending some time with us today. And Adam, again, thank you. I'm very appreciative for you to share your information with the charter school world. Thank you, and everyone have a fabulous Tuesday. Take care.